Before we dive into today's episode, I have something truly special to share. Next September, I'll be leading an intimate women's retreat through the south of France and northern Italy, and you're invited. Picture this: mornings exploring the colorful markets of the French Riviera, afternoons sipping wine, and a hotel view with golden Mediterranean sunsets. Whether you love photography, food, or just want to reconnect with your playful creative self, this trip is designed for you. Spots are limited, so if all this sounds like your kind of adventure, please visit tourwithabsolutely.com and look for the tour France and Italy with Crystal. You can also send me a message or check out the show notes. Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. Welcome to the show, Julien. How are you?
Hey, Crystal. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate it.
We recently met at a wonderful women's group, and thank you so much for sharing your stories. You have such a vibrant career as a photographer as well, but I always like to go back to the beginning. So talk a little bit about your life from New York to Paris, what inspired the move, and what does that transition look like?
Oh, well, I've been a photographer now for 18 years and actually kind of went even before New York. I was in New Mexico. So bouncing around and kind of doing well, but then having to start up again and then doing well and having to start up again. And now this is our home. Paris is our home and back in that mode again, kind of reestablishing myself as well. But COVID, to answer your question, COVID took us abroad. We had to leave New York during that time. So like many did. And so, ended up going to Mexico for a bit and then on to Europe and made Paris our home fairly recently this past November.
Yes, I love that. It's always hard moving. And especially as freelancers, like we had to find our network again. So
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that as other creatives are listening, maybe think about relocating. What are the best ways to kind of reestablish that network and find work?
That's a good question. When I was in Santa Fe, I was extremely busy there. I was doing extremely well. And I had this illusion that I could just go to New York and poof, I'd be there and just pick up work because I was Julien McRoberts. Well, I had a rude awakening. It was, it's New York. It was like a slap in the face. Like everybody's 10 times more talented than you are. And it's a tough city. And it's like, wow, I had to really up my game. That first year or two, I still kept commuting back and forth. And I found myself doing that also when we moved from New York to Lisbon. Didn't really work during COVID at Mexico, but when we moved to Lisbon, it was the same thing. It was a lot of commuting to still kind of get that income from your clients that you already have, but slowly transition into your new place. And while you're doing that in your new location, you're just out networking, meeting people, finding groups, doing some free shoots, pro bono stuff, whatever you can to kind of get you back on the radar and, putting yourself out there. For me, I find I get more work when I can connect with people individually, be it at parties or, again, networking meetings versus social media, because you just get lost in this ocean of noise. So really putting yourself out there is one way to get started.
Definitely. I feel the same way. Like talking to people in person makes a big difference than just through a screen where they don't really have any kind of energetic connection to you.
Exactly. And it just opens the door for so many other opportunities. I find that if I'm in a room, if there's a photo job to be had, I will somehow find it. And I usually can close it because you can build that relationship with that person and really talk to them about their projects. Whereas you can't really do that just by looking and swiping through Instagram or TikTok, social media, et cetera.
Exactly. And talk a little bit about how your creative process has shifted since you started living in Paris. Has the city changed how you see light, composition, storytelling?
Yes, I'm trying to figure that out here because it's really our first year. And before we started, I was like, oh, this weather is really great in Paris. I'm enjoying this. I thought it would be much grayer. And for me, those that'll go to my website, they'll see I'm like a basic color explosion. So while living in New Mexico, And I've shot a lot also in Mexico. I love that light, that color, that contrast. And then when I got to New York, it's like, there's none of that here. I had to shift. I'm not a street photographer. I'm not a black and white photographer. So I had to turn that around and figure out, where can I find this color? Where can I find my regular voice? And for me, it ended up being a lot of these super fun events like the Mermaid Parade and obviously Pride Parade, things that were just joyous and colorful, a lot of art festivals. I also, when I was in New Mexico, I loved shooting rodeos. You would not know this looking at me. I'm kind of a city girl, but I don't mind throwing my boots on and jeans and hanging out with the cowboys and shooting the old small town rodeos. And I missed that terribly. So when I got to New York, I'm like, wow, how can I replicate that feeling? So I ended up meeting this woman who owned a women's professional football team, the New York Sharks. And I said, gee, that sounds fascinating. Can I kind of see if I can maybe shoot this and maybe see if I can pitch a story on you and come out and shoot one of the games? And she said, absolutely, come on out. And it was that same feeling, that same experience for me as doing rodeos. It was that action. It was the behind the scenes. It was the prepping. It was getting ready is get the camaraderie. It was that action, the grit of it. And then I also started shooting roller derby. So same thing. So you kind of got to figure out what it is that you really like and find that. And in Paris, I haven't found that yet. I'm trying to figure out what is it that's going to really spark that flame in me. So I'm just right now, I'm so enamored with Paris and just getting to know it that I haven't really focused as much on that as I should yet. But it's coming. Usually it comes to me at like 3 a.m. when poof, I get the idea in my head.
Definitely. Yeah. Roller derby is intense. I remember they used to do it in Baltimore where I'm from. And I was like, wow, you girls are rough.
Tough.
And then the rodeos, wow, those are super fun too. Mm-hmm. Such a different experience.
Yes.
And talking about, oh yeah.
Oh no, I was just say, funny enough, I found that there's a rodeo in France that I might go try to shoot in the fall, but it's hard to get to. But yes, they actually have them here too.
That's so fun. That's good to know. Let me know how it goes. I didn't even know about that. Talk about one of the biggest surprises or challenges that have happened since building a creative life in France.
I wouldn't say I haven't had any surprises yet, but for me, it's just been how open and how friendly and welcoming people are here. You often hear how rude French are, and the Parisians are rude, and they're not. They're just, to me, they're like a lot like New Yorkers. They just don't put up with nonsense, and they're straight and to the point and direct, but they're very helpful. They're very kind, and I've found that to just be kind of a nice surprise so far.
Yeah, definitely. I think they have this this idea around the world that everyone's rude and blah blah blah. But it's just not the case if you just show them niceness.
They're helpful to network you and introduce you to other people and follow up. I belong to a couple of groups, and I occasionally will put out a post like, any tips from the group here of where I should be looking to network to find work for interior photography or jewelry brands. And just very kind people will just pop out and, hey, let's meet up for coffee, or I know somebody, or I'm a developer, I do real estate, I could use a photographer. So people have been very helpful. If you put yourself out there in a professional manner, I've been getting the same response back.
Definitely. I think especially in the expat community, people want to help.
Yeah, these are French as well, French and very international group, which is great. Yeah, expat of every kind, as you can imagine, as you know, living here.
So talk a little bit about some of the different clients you worked with, the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum and Calvin Klein Home. You worked with a broad range. Talk a little bit about that.
Yes. Where do I start? Because, what I learned when I got to New York, people want to put you in a box, and you kind of really have to have your niche. And that's important too, to really kind of hone that in. But I started out just having to shoot everything. And I was kind of a generalist because I worked for a lot of magazines. And so they would send me out on a shoot, and they're like, well, shoot the food, shoot the restaurant. We need the interiors. We also need this event, and so on. I had to be able to cover it all and do it well. So for me, I had to make sure that everything I was turning in was of a high caliber. And my clients just kept growing from there. So I just loved working with women in fashion. And fashion, I mean also accessories, jewelry, boots, shoes, etc. And kind of gravitated towards women in business, women that had these boutiques that were growing businesses. And so to show their work in an artistic manner, not just on a line sheet. So my clients ranged, again, as I mentioned, from editorial magazines to creative designers in New York and beyond. and interior designers. So I've shot in Greece, I've shot in LA, New York, Aspen, just kind of all over.
And talk about some of the craziest experiences you've had.
Oh my God. Okay, so being a generalist, I would never know what my day would be like. I was so busy being booked. It's like I might have a shoot to shoot somebody who collects bugs and has them dried out and displays them. So I could be looking at these nasty, freaky, weird looking bugs, shooting that for a client, to the next day, shooting fashion. And the following week, this one job I got a call from a woman who kind of would pitch my stories and sell my work in Asia and India. And she called me one day. She says, Julian, I need to find somebody. Do you know anybody who specializes in pedophile hunter photographers? I'm like, what? What? What do you need? She goes, we have a TV series from Holland, and it's an investigative reportive TV series, and we need a pedophile hunter photographer. Like, okay, I don't think there is such a thing, but I can help you. What do we need? So it ended up being a really interesting project and a really kind of sickening one at the same time. But I followed along with the film crew, and I apparently had to be this expert as the pedophile hunter photographer, but had to do a ton of research and followed along with her as we went out with this renegade group of women that were vigilantes, so to speak. They kept their communities safe. We also worked with the police, and we'd go throughout the city filming and shooting all these different things around that topic. And that was just so bizarre. It was like this bizarre world. And then you'll come back home and a week later, I'm shooting somebody's fabulous home in Los Angeles. So you just never know what you're going to get. That was a strange one for me.
Definitely. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Photography takes us to some really interesting places.
Absolutely. Where you don't even expect. I mean, you just never know what's going to come up.
And do you find that it's just about saying yes, like even if you've never done anything like that before, you just say yes and then figure it out?
Generally, I go through where the doors open. I always tell people, just go through the open doors, open windows. Just make sure you just experience it. If it feels right to you. I most of the time will say yes. I do have my boundaries and limits. I don't do anything that's pornographic. I have no problem with shooting nudity if it's something that's done tastefully. If somebody's asked, I've done a couple of shoots where clients wanted their beautiful artisan crafts, their ceramics or their furniture and stuff with nudes blocked partially by the furnishings or the artwork, something like that. But I draw my line. So everybody has their own boundaries. But for the most part, yes, if it feels safe to you and your gut tells you it's good and things check out, why not? You never know what you'll experience. Oh, I did shoot a full face, whole body makeover with a surgeon where literally, it was very graphic. Let's put it that way. The nurses kept looking at me asking, are you going to pass out? Are you going to pass? Like, no, actually, can I get in a little closer with my Zoom? So, yes.
Holy cow. Yes. Yeah. And what's been your favorite thing to photograph?
I initially started out saying yes. Speaking of saying yes to things, I got asked to start shooting for a college in Santa Fe, and it was a Native American college. And from there, it ended up going to the museum and then to various tribal communities. And I was doing a lot of work with the tourism department. So I was kind of really getting a foothold into the Native American community, which a lot of white photographers don't get to do that. And there's not a lot of imagery coming out of there from Navajo Nation and the Pueblos. So I had a really unique opportunity. And so that to me are some of my favorite shoots, getting to make friends with people in the community, getting to experience really incredible things that most people don't get to even see, special ceremonies, and just, various traditions. And that was really, really magical. And that, of course, the rodeos for sure.
Definitely. All different experiences that not many people get to see, like you said. Mm-hmm. And what does storytelling through photography mean to you today?
It's still just really capturing the essence of that person and really digging into who they are, what they want to convey, and things that they may not even realize that you see because you're seeing them with fresh eyes. And you bring a different kind of slightly different perspective to the table. So whether it's for a brand project or if it's for a piece for a magazine, it's really kind of just getting comfortable and building that relationship with that person and really just letting it evolve. I don't go in with preconceived notions. I rarely will have a shoot that I storyboard out unless a client requests that. So I just kind of let it evolve organically to see where the story goes.
And how has that evolved from your early days as a photographer, from storytelling? Is it still the same? Have things changed from how you used to work as a storyteller?
That's a good question. No, I think that kind of always came innately for me. Um, I'll give you an example. Like with the rodeos, I just go back to that because a lot of people, if they do shoot, first of all, I'm like one of the very few women that seem to be shooting that. It's mostly men, male dominated. And they want the big action. They all are there. They want to shoot the bull riding and the bronc riding and the fast, and that's cool too. But for me, it's about what's going on behind the scenes. The dad feeding his little girl a snow cone, or a father helping his little son practice roping on a fake cow, or just people getting their saddles ready. The whole picture, the whole enchilada from soup to nuts. And that to me is most important. What's the big picture? There's like a beginning, a middle, and an end, that arc. The beginning of the story, the establishing shots, what's going on in between, kind of that arc in the middle of all the highlights, and then kind of as it winds down to the end, and how does the day play out at the end.
And since you've worked with so many big names and celebrities, like, have you found a difference in people being photographed? Like, is it different photographing a celebrity versus an everyday working guy? Like, are we all just scared of the camera? How do you feel about that?
No, some celebrities are so used to it, and sometimes I've gotten calls like from Hollywood Reporter, like, okay, you're going to be shooting this director. He's got 5 minutes. His handler will be there. His press person's there. You've got 5 minutes, and you have to just nail it. That's pressure. It's like it's going in the magazine. They need it that day. They want that quick turnaround, and you just show up. Person sits there, boom, boom, boom. You get your shots. They're on their way, and you pray it all came out well. But I'm confident enough in my work that I know how to make that happen effectively. And generally, they know their best sides. They know how to pose for the camera. So that's actually easy in that sense. But you're just praying that nothing goes haywire with the gear or your CF card or anything, or some unknown. But generally, yeah, that's a little more pressure.
What's something that you wish more people knew about being a photographer?
To be careful with the balancing act. If you're doing it for work, you can kind of kill the creative side if you don't continue to nurture that. It's very easy if you're trying to make a living at it to all of a sudden you're busy, you're marketing, you're doing bids, you're talking to clients, you're having to price things out, you're having to compete for that. It's just a lot of work, and it kind of takes the fun out of it, to be quite honest. Or you can, that's happened to me where I've kind of burnt out on that. I'm like, wow, this isn't even really that much fun because I don't get to do what I really love doing because it's so much of the business side. And I think that happens to creatives in any field where all of a sudden it becomes a business. So I wouldn't trade how my career path has gone, but I kind of wish I still had that initial passion where I wanted to get out of bed at 5 a.m. as soon as the sun would come up and just be out shooting and driving for hours, or just going to places I would never go and photograph stuff just because it was that exploration and experience and it was new and it was fabulous. So I think if I had to do it again, I maybe would have gone more of a fine art route so I could still be in that photo bubble in the sense and not so much the business one.
Yeah. How do you hold on to the creative side? Like, what advice do you have for people who want to, like, not burn out?
It's hard. It's hard because you do need some of those commercial clients. And I have some very good commercial clients, but to be quite honest, they're just like boring corporate headshots, but it pays really well. So you kind of have to have that because then you're doing another maybe fun project that's editorial and it doesn't pay peanuts, but you really feed your soul at that. So you've got to find things that still feed your soul. And you may not always be getting it necessarily from work at the moment. I had a little mini meltdown in New York at one point. I'm like, I just need to shoot in that sunlight and have my colors back again and shoot these funky things that I like in Americana. So, I would do road trips with other photographers that I had become friends with. And we liked shooting the same thing. So we would do these road trips like ghost towns in Nevada or mid-century stuff in Wildwood, New Jersey, or out in Palm Springs. So that helped to keep that balance. And also doing workshops. Kind of get you out of your bubble, get you out of your head, and be able to turn everything off and go away on a workshop, if possible, away from home. So you don't have to worry about feeding the dog or if you have a husband and all this stuff that goes on, the daily stuff. If you can get away, it's a great way to refresh and find that again. I've found that to be very helpful.
Yeah, I think definitely the community workshops, like you said, getting out of your head, and you find that new energy and excitement again.
Totally. You can always keep learning.
Definitely. And you've woven given back into your business model. You support animal welfare, children's education. Why is this part of your work so important to you?
Well, I actually came out of animal welfare just prior to becoming a photographer. I'd been in that business for 10 years. in animal rescue, working as an executive director and a board president, hands-on and developing programs for years. And I burnt out and having to raise millions of dollars. Like, I need to do something different. And I got into photography. So I always wanted to pay it back because for me, that speaks to my heart. I love animals. I've had 7 dogs. I've had parrots, cats, etc. And that's just my passion. And same with Africa. We love Africa. My husband and I have been there a couple of times. Love the animals, conservation. So whatever I could do to help give back. And if I can also do this with my photography, I started, in fact, this is on my website. It's the Annie Project. It's named in honor of one of my little dogs, little Annie. And when I was in Lisbon, I was doing a photo session free for people who had elderly pets, dogs and cats, who were kind of on their last legs. And Portugal is actually a very poor country, and this would be very expensive for people to hire someone to do professional photos of their pet. And we all have phones and stuff, but it's not the same kind of beautiful portraits where someone's taking them of you necessarily with your animal and really posing and working and capturing that essence and the story of their loved one. So I started doing that pro bono in Lisbon, and I'm going to pick that up again in Paris when I get a chance here, probably in the next 6 months or so. But I think that's real important to give back to the community in that way. And it combined my photography and my love of animals.
Definitely. That's such a beautiful project. And I'm sure there's so many adoption centers that could use some nice pictures of puppies around here too.
Absolutely.
And how do you stay grounded while living and working between 2 very different cultures?
I don't have a problem with that. I know how to maintain a balance. I feel it's easy here in Paris, personally. I feel very at home here. And so that's really not been an issue. I've always just been someone that's kind of know how to keep myself grounded in the first place.
Definitely. Yeah. If it just comes naturally, it's already good to go. And what advice would you offer creatives who are dreaming of moving to France but aren't sure how to begin?
Well, that's interesting because what I'm learning here about being in France as a creative, the French love their bureaucracy. They like to put things in nice, neat little boxes. And in some ways, it's a little bit stifling. You have to get even more creative. And what I mean by that is, I'll give you an example. In my visa that I have a micro-entrepreneur visa, profession libérale, and they put me in, I don't remember which particular class, but what classification. But in that classification, I can shoot portraits, I can shoot brand photography, I can do a little bit of stock, kind of, and content, and that's it. If I want to go do something else, if I want to do a journalistic piece, I would have to have a different visa. Or if I wanted to do weddings or something more commercial, that's a different visa. So to me, I'm thinking, it's all photography. It's taxes that go back to you. What do you care? Just make one big photography basket and put everybody in that, but they don't. So you have to get used to that, and you have to get creative with AI to figure out how do I kind of make these invoices work. And so there's just all these other layers that come into that kind of affect your creativity. So you really have to narrow down if you come to France and you're creative, you've got to know what you do. They don't want to see that you do A, B, C, D, E, and F, and G. They want to know that you do A and B and you really excel at that. And that helps when you get your visa. If you're all over the map, they're going to go, well, you're not a specialist. Well, why would somebody hire you? You're kind of all over the place. So you kind of have to fit in that box. And it's kind of strange, but you figure out how to make that happen.
Yeah, exactly. They're really into, like you said, boxes here and checking off boxes.
Yes.
So how would you define creativity in your own words?
To me, it's really the freedom to get lost in your passion and to really just open your mind up without inhibition and to find yourself in a different realm, kind of an escapism in a way, where you are just in this different world of creativity. And you know it when you're in it, when you're in that zone. Those of you that that are creatives out there, you'll know what I mean. Like when you're in that zone, you're in that zone. It's like you are just going for it and you don't want the distractions and you're just letting that evolve and just things are flowing.
Definitely. That flow state is the best feeling in the world.
Yes.
So what advice would you give others for their business, for their creativity? What's your top advice?
A few things here. I would say, push yourself. Don't be afraid to get uncomfortable. And even if you find yourself getting stuck, continue to push yourself. Don't worry about what others are doing. Don't be intimidated. Don't compare yourself to others. If you're walking into that room or meeting with a new client, walk in like you own the place. Just be confident and continue to push yourself. Be patient. It may take a while till you find your voice. And when you do, you'll know it. And just being confident more than anything, it goes a long way. And being professional. Oh my gosh, I would hear this all the time from clients. You don't have to be the best person as far as your skill. You might have people that are way more skilled than you. But if you're professional and you get things done on time, you're easy to work with, you get things packaged in a nice manner and presentation, they'll work with you over and over. It will be easy to get referrals. But if you're someone who's kind of flaky and late with turning in your work, or you're late on the job, or hard to reach, or take days to get back to an email, don't bother. You're shooting yourself in the foot. So first and foremost, be professional. You don't have to be the best artist. You don't have to be the best photographer out there. You have to be professional first and foremost, really, if you want to work.
Yeah. That's definitely great advice. I hear that all the time, that photographers don't answer, or don't edit fast, or whatever, it's just like, be a professional. And talk about some of your favorite resources that have helped you on your creative journey, whether it's books, museums, workshops. What are some resources that really help you?
They had workshops at Santa Fe, photo workshops and the main photo workshops for years, kind of before the internet explosion. And those were incredible because you got to learn from top photographers in the field. And they were just absolutely invaluable. And they still exist. So for me, I got lucky. I started out with one particular photographer who was a National Geographic photographer, and he really became kind of a mentor. Tough as nails. He was a top military guy too before he became a photographer. So he suffered no fools, and he would push you. And I literally would see people like crying in his class when he was like critiquing, editing and critiquing them, because he was so brutal. But he pushed me and pushed me and pushed me. And in fact, about 5 people out of that one particular workshop went on to do really well, including myself, work-wise. So he was really a fabulous mentor. Don't be afraid to, hear the hard stuff. You don't want just, if you have to show your work, show it to professionals. Use people in the industry that are well respected so you can get honest feedback. And so the workshops will do that. Portfolio reviews, I don't know that, I can take or leave those, but finding people that will be honest with you and good resources and tell you so you can learn to grow. So workshops are definitely a plus.
Yeah, I think mentors are huge, and like just taking that feedback and rolling with it. And are there any places in Paris you recommend for creatives to go to find inspiration, to find that flow?
Oh, it's everywhere. It's just everywhere. I find so much stuff on Instagram. I'm constantly saving things. There was a fabulous couple galleries I went to the other day that were just incredibly inspiring. Or if you're inspired by architecture, I get my inspiration from saving stuff on Instagram and just creating lists of where I want to go, what I want to shoot, or what I want to be inspired by, because it's just all around you. And whether you're in a big city or if you're in a small town, I fell in love with Route 66, and that was so unexpected. I got hired to do a job for a magazine in Tucumcari, New Mexico, and it was all on Route 66. So they sent me there for a few days. And you first drive through and you go, it's kind of a dead town. There's not too much going on, but there's some funky stuff here. But then you start to see the beauty in it. And then when the lights came on and the neon popped up, you're like, wow, it's like this magical world. And so I really got into like this kind of ephemera across America for a while. I was shooting all over and I just fell in love with that. So yeah, there's beauty everywhere and things that are interesting in your own backyard. You don't have to necessarily travel to another country. You just have to kind of open your eyes and be a tourist in your own destination.
Yeah, put that smartphone down. Look around, guys. There's a lot going on, a lot to inspire you. And I think that's a beautiful note to end on. So where can people connect with you, learn more about your work, and talk to you?
Sure. They can, first of all, go to my website. That's easy enough. It's JulienMcRoberts.com. That's JulienMcRoberts.com. I'm also on Instagram under Julien McRoberts Photo. I do have a private account, so just feel free to ping me and I'll sign you on so you can join up and follow me if you like. So those are two of the best places for right now. I maintain somewhat of a low profile. I'm not all over the place on social media, but those are two of the best ones.
Perfect. Well, we'll share all that in the show notes. And thank you so much for sharing your story today.
Thank you, Crystal. I really appreciate your time and having me here. It's been enjoyable. And audience, thank you for tuning in too. I really am happy to be able to share any information with you.
Thanks so much for tuning in to La Vie Creative. You can find more information on MissParisPhoto.com. And if you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word for all my creative guests. We have the power to help them to keep doing what they love. See you next time.